Questions for your surrogate and egg donor. So these are back to the beginning when we say really do some soul searching, envision what type of relationship that you want to have, what is your matching criteria for your surrogate and your egg donor. I touched on this already, selective reduction and termination. So you need to make sure that you, what you envision you would do if you were to find out that there's anomaly with the child that your surrogate is carrying. What would you do in that situation? If you would terminate, then you need to make sure you're working with a surrogate who is comfortable with termination. If you would find out that you transferred an embryo, you have more than one embryo, right? You transfer more than one and then one of them splits and you have to consider selective reduction. You need to make sure that you're working with a surrogate who would selectively reduce. We talked about number of embryos to transfer. We really advocate for one embryo is the healthiest for the surrogate, for the baby. But if you want to transfer two, some clinics still do that, and you just need to make sure you don't match with a surrogate who is only willing to transfer one.
Okay, so in choosing your donor, you really need to figure out what is important to you in your donor. So if you're coming to a agency, the things that come into play most often are what she looks like, her education, and her family background. So those are probably the three most important that people come to me and they're looking for somebody who looks like their family does, who is well educated, and honestly is beautiful. That's really what people are looking for. Height is another one that I get all the time. So if you're looking for somebody who is Ivy League educated and a model, it's going to take a while to find somebody like that. And she's going to be requesting a fairly high fee. Not to say you can't find her. I have actually found her a couple of times, and she's done 6 cycles and then moved on with her life. But it's hard to find another one of her. We call them unicorns at my agency. So going back to this Ivy League model, we actually use scouts to find these women for us. And so because of that, our program fees are actually higher for those donors as well. Those, like I have one donor right now who is not Ivy League, but she has got a master's degree and she is a model and she's 5'10" and she's stunning. And her fee request is $50,000. So I also have donors who are just sweet as can be, the girl next door, also very attractive, who are absolutely fine with the fee of $8,000 for their donor fee.
Twins, is there a possibility? Because I say children, but if I have to wait another 2 years and do the whole thing again...
I have to say that most clinics are only doing one embryo transfer.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because you run into a lot of risk with twins. Delivering early, having big problems with the babies, yeah. Being in the NICU. It's great to have your twins, but there's just so much risk, and that means more money involved, and then, you know, if anything happens... Yeah. You know, it's just a lot. It's a lot.
You can do 2 surrogates at the same time.
Oh yeah,
do that a lot.
Okay.
We even have a client right now who's doing 5 at the same time.
Okay.
He wants a big family, single man.
Transfer. So, quick show of hands: how many people would be interested in having twins if it was possible? Yeah, there's quite a number, and a number of you approached us yesterday. So this is a really critical issue, right? We all want to maximize success. You guys want to maximize your success. It's definitely a relatively costly process. It would be easier financially if we do it all in one shot. We call this one and done because you do one embryo transfer, you have your 2 babies and your family's complete. The problem with this is, number one, transferring in 2 embryos can carry some additional risks. And we'll go through those. And then number 2, it really doesn't make a huge difference in terms of the outcome because putting in 2 embryos does not guarantee you 2 babies. So you have to remember that we can put in 2 embryos, but we cannot guarantee you're going to have 2 pregnancies from that. The other problem is that sometimes those embryos can split. So in a rare number of cases, you'll see one embryo split into identical twins. So I myself had a case recently where the couple insisted that we transfer 2 embryos, despite everything we told them in terms of the risks. And not only did one of them split, but both of them split into identical twins. Yeah. So she ended up with quads. Thankfully, one of them reduced, and she's now carrying 3 babies. So it's going to be a busy life for that family. So yeah. So you know, for those of you that are really excited about this prospect, keep in mind you may not just be having 1 or 2. You may actually be getting 4 at the same time. And if you're all used to your sports cars, you'll need a family van very quickly after that.
I think that what you need to know is that when someone says to you, you brought a child to the world and all you can do now is damage control, there is no damage control to be done. There is no damage to the child is okay. Children of parents through surrogacy are fine. Children of gay parents through surrogacy are fine. The surrogates are fine. Their children and their families are fine and stronger for them having done it. And gay parents, their self-esteem, their social contacts, they are fine. They are getting better and stronger through having done this. So there is no damage control for anyone to do.
Many of you probably today, after hearing all that you've heard, are probably afraid still. Well, who are these surrogates? Are they going to want the baby? Are they going to want to keep the babies? Are they really going to give me the baby at the end of this long and difficult and expensive journey? And I'm here to tell you, and Lisa, and you are here to tell everyone that yes, of course they will give you a baby. They don't want the baby for themselves. Surrogates say, if I wanted the baby, I could have a baby. I don't want to go home and be up all night. You go be home all night. Change diapers, enjoy. They don't want that. They want to do something for you. So what matters to them is not the baby. The attachment, the bonding, the relationship is not between the surrogate and the baby. The attachment and the bonding is between the surrogate and the intended parents.
Even if you like being pregnant and you like how your hair is, it's still discomfort. You're going through a lot of trouble to do this good deed. You, at the end of that, you're not at the beginning. It set you back in certain ways. You couldn't take vacations with your kids. You couldn't have sex with your husband for some of this time, or your wife. There were a lot of things you weren't allowed to do. You deserve some. In English, we call it compensation, but we also call it, and actually I can quote Human Rights Watch, that they're saying those are considerations or restitution. You're basically giving them a compensation for how they were hurt by this. But they did it willingly. They wanted to help you, but they deserve this. And the reality is, like that book showed, is if you don't give them some of that compensation to pay back for all these considerations, they're not going to be sorry. They're not going to be able to do it. And when one country after the other, the United Kingdom and Canada in particular, we've seen that they said, okay, compromise. We'll have surrogacy, just no compensation. Just altruistic. Everybody's happy. There is compensation. It's just a gray area compensation. It's just, everybody knows that it's $25,000 or so in Canada. That's what they tolerate. The only problem is now you make the surrogates into liars because they need to bring all their receipts, for gas and for this to pretend that they really have expenses only. This trap is, they'll say, okay, let's do a compromise. We'll have surrogacy, but no compensation. But by the way, and I think this is in the Netherlands right now, and by the way, once we do that, we will prohibit you from going to those bad places that have commercial surrogacy. And in the Netherlands, that's the real possibility right now, that they will allow altruistic surrogacy. Maybe 1/10 of the people will be able to be parents, and everybody else will not be allowed to go to the United States and Canada anymore. So this is a trap. We can talk about this for an hour, if not longer, just about this, but be careful of this trap. If it's just about giving your kids rights, then fine. But if it's about legislating surrogacy in your country, you'll be left with nothing. We can't pass. We're visible. So we carry the burden of advocating for surrogacy, and we suffer from anti-surrogacy sentiments, and surrogacy suffering from anti-gay sentiments. So when we advocate for surrogacy rights and for surrogacy acceptance and for acceptance of the family, we need to have as allies the whole gay community. They need to understand that if they allow us to be demonized, it has to do with the entire community.